I want to tell you about a time when I got a letter that hit the table harder than it should have. Thick paper, official seal, red letters stamped across the top. Final notice. I remember staring at it for a moment before even opening it, like you do when something feels off before you even read the words. It said I owed money for HOA dues. Now, keep in mind my ranch sits miles outside any HOA boundary. No shared roads, no community gates, no rules, just land, sky, and silence. But there it was, a demand for money with threats of fines, liens, and legal actions if I didn't pay up. And the worst part? They even circled a deadline like I'd already agreed to it, something I never signed. That morning it started out quiet. The wind was blowing through the grass, coffee cooling on the table, birds chirping in the distance. This place, this land, wasn't just property. It was my freedom. I bought it so I could be left alone, far from the reach of rules, meetings, and dues. Now, here was someone I never met, claiming authority over it. They wanted money, and all I wanted was one thing: proof. Just one thing that showed I owed them anything. And that single request changed everything. But before I tell you how this all unfolded, let me ask you this. Where in the world are you watching from? I'm not the kind of person who looks for fights. Most of my life has been spent solving problems quietly. I work as a contractor. The kind who measures twice, checks the paperwork, and doesn't rush decisions. Rules don't bother me. In fact, clear rules make life easier. That's why I've never been anti-HOA. I just believe boundaries should be real, written down, and respected. And this wasn't real. The ranch is over 40 acres, fenced all the way around, with survey markers that have been sitting where the county placed them decades ago. I know that land like the back of my hand. One gravel road connects it to the county highway. There are no shared entrances, no common land, no overlap with anyone else's property. I bought this place to be left alone. I wanted distance, quiet mornings, and land that answered only to the county and the law. No boards, no meetings, no dues. The HOA that sent the letter? Silver Creek Estates. I'd heard the name before, mostly from neighbors closer to town. A few complaints, nothing too serious. So when a letter arrived, I assumed it was a mistake, a clerical issue that would clear up with one phone call. At least, that's what I thought at first. I waited a full day before responding, not out of fear, but out of habit. When something doesn't make sense, I like to approach it calmly. I emailed the contact number listed on the notice, polite and direct, asking for clarification. I even attached my parcel number just to make it easier for them to figure it out. The reply came back faster than I expected. It was from the HOA president herself. Her tone was polite, almost friendly, but there was something rehearsed about it. She thanked me for reaching out, then ended with a line that stuck with me. "We've already reviewed this." No explanation, no attachment, just confidence. That was it. They were certain, and I had no idea why. But I wasn't backing down. I replied again, still calm, asking what document connected my ranch to Silver Creek Estates. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. I let go to voicemail. When I listened to the message, her voice was slow, deliberate, as if explaining something obvious to a child. She said my land fell within their jurisdiction due to an older community agreement, something about annexation years ago. She assured me it was all very standard and added almost casually that everyone in the area paid. That's when the first knot formed in my stomach. I called her back, my voice steady, and told her I wasn't disputing dues. I just needed proof. A map, a covenant, anything recorded with the county. She sighed, not loudly, but enough for me to know she was annoyed. "This isn't optional," she said. "The board has already confirmed it." She didn't answer my request for documents. When I mentioned my deed, she cut me off. "Everyone pays," she repeated. "That's how communities work." The call ended soon after. Over the next few days, the emails grew more firm, less polite. There were references to late fees and language about enforcement. Still no documents, no recorded covenants. When I asked specifically for the annexation filing number, the response ignored my question completely. Instead, they sent me a blurry PDF. It was a map. No county seal, no date, no scale, just a shaded area that conveniently included my ranch. I knew that map wasn't right. It didn't match the land I'd walked every day, not even close. I asked for clarification again. Where did the map come from? Had been filed with the county. The response came back an hour later. Our legal team has reviewed it. This matter is closed. That was the moment something shifted. It wasn't anger, not yet. It was something quieter. A realization that this wasn't a mistake. They weren't confused. They were certain. And that certainty made me realize something important. They'd done this before. I pulled every document I had. My deed, my title insurance policy, county maps, survey reports. The deed was clean, clear, recorded with the county years ago. No mention of Silver Creek Estates, no reference to any HOA, just my name, the parcel number, and the legal description. Title insurance didn't miss things like this. If there had been an HOA obligation, it would have been listed. It wasn't. The county maps showed the same thing. Silver Creek Estates ended well short of my land. There was no overlap. It was settled. And yet, the letters didn't stop. Another one came 3 days later with a revised balance, late fees added, and a reminder about placing a lien. A lien. They were treating it like routine, like it was just a matter of time before I gave in. I replied one more time, attaching copies of my deed and county map and asking for proof for a single recorded document tying my land to their association. The response didn't acknowledge the attachments. It simply warned that continued non-compliance could escalate the situation. That night, I slept lightly, not because I feared what they could do, but because something about this was wrong in a way I couldn't ignore. The next day, I saw tire tracks near the gate. They weren't mine. That afternoon, a white SUV rolled past the fence. It didn't stop, but it didn't hurry either. The windows were tinted, and a phone camera flashed twice. Later that evening, the email came, referencing visible violations. No specifics, just a note that they'd conducted a site review and would be following up. The pressure started to build. Every email notification made my chest tighten. Every unfamiliar vehicle on the road caught my attention. I had to do something. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about what they were doing, about the assumption that they could bully me into paying without proving a damn thing. The ranch hadn't changed, but now I understood something important. This wasn't a clerical error. It was a tactic, and that's when I decided to stop reacting. I wasn't going to fight this with emails or phone calls anymore. I wasn't going to let them wear me down. I went to the county clerk's office. I knew the records were there, and this time, I wasn't leaving without them. The clerk didn't look at me like I was a nuisance. She pulled up the records and found exactly what I was looking for. Silver Creek Estates had filed for annexation years ago, but it had been denied. No approval, no follow-up. They didn't have authority over my land, and they knew it. With those documents in hand, I took everything to a local surveyor. He confirmed what I already knew. The HOA boundary had never reached my property. Not legally, not informally. Silver Creek Estates had no claim on my land. I wasn't just resisting anymore. I was building a case. I stopped responding to their emails. I stopped taking their calls. I was preparing to expose their game. And that's when things started to change. The next letter I received wasn't a threat. It was a formal acknowledgement that my property wasn't part of their HOA. All demands were withdrawn. No more late fees, no more liens, no more contact. It was over. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt settled. It felt right. The truth had been the quietest thing in this whole mess. And once the silence was broken, there was no going back. That evening, I stood at the fence line, looking out at the land I'd fought for. It was still mine. And that truth, quiet and unwavering, was more powerful than any demand they could send my way.